The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. The attendee count is rising rapidly, so I'm going to give a few minutes, just a moment or two for people to join. Thanks for being with us. And I will give it just half a minute more. Our attendee count is still rising. We're really excited to have all you guys with us. Thanks. Welcome, everybody. It is 3:02, so we'll get started right away. But thank you so much, everyone, for being here at BPI's webinar, Get Started with Heat Pump Water Heaters. There are currently 208 of you here in attendance, rising rapidly. We're really excited to have you all. This is the first time that I know of that we've done a technical training webinar since I've been here. So thank you very much all for being here. We're glad to have you. This group here with us today, this is a group of manufacturers and Energy Star representatives who are working to advance hot water heat pumps in the market. We're really excited to have them. I'm going to start by introducing Nate Chutras. He is the Heat Pump Water Heater Program Manager for Energy Star, and I will give him the screen.
Great, thank you. And I will share. I should have a prompt that allows me to share my screen, right?
Yep, if you look just below your mic, two icons below, there is a screen. Click on it.
Okay. I am not seeing that. During practice, I think I got a prompt, but I'm not seeing a prompt. Oh, this should be.
Is Nate a presenter now? Does he need to have the presenter sent over to him?
He needs to have it sent over to him, but I thought that someone else had done it. I apologize for the delay, everybody.
Well, the upside is it gives a few more people time to join.
Thank you very much. I think we were having a little bit of bandwidth overload because the ability to make Nate presenter was blinking in and out, and now it's come in. We have 240 people in the room with us right now, so thank you very much for bearing with us.
Okay, good. And you can see my my screen now?
Yes, I can.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Nate Chitris. I lead Energy Star's marketing and sales for water heating products. And I really enjoy talking about heat pump water heaters because the technology offers such a tremendous opportunity for consumers to get tons of hot water at significantly less cost than any other option out there. And it's really underappreciated technology, but we are seeing a lot of growth just within the last year or two, and we're going to continue to see that. So happy to have you join us today. I'm going to speak briefly about the role of Energy Star, what it means for an electric water heater to be Energy Star certified. And then I'll turn it over to my colleague, Paul Campbell with ICF. He'll talk a bit about some of the resources that Energy Star has developed to support consumers, distributors, contractors, and others looking to learn more about heat pump water heaters. So just as background, Energy Star is a voluntary certification program. It was launched back in 1992 to help consumers, businesses, and industry save money while protecting the environment through adoption of high efficiency products and practices. The Energy Star mark, which hopefully you are all familiar with, it communicates that their product has been third-party certified to save money on operational costs compared to your average product that doesn't have the certification. Despite being the second largest source of energy in the home, Energy Star didn't have a certification for electric water heaters until 2009. And just as a frame of reference, you may live in an area, work in an area that doesn't have a lot of electric water heaters, but roughly it's around the same number of electric water heaters in the country as there are gas. The two combined make up a little over 80% of the water heaters out there. So about 58 million of each type. There wasn't an electric water heater that was Energy Star certified until 2009 because they're more or less the same. The electric water heaters are 92, 93, sometimes 94% efficient. But in 2009, GE introduced the GE GeoSpring heat pump water heater, and the GeoSpring suddenly more than doubled that efficiency. You might wonder how something could be more than 100% efficient, never mind 200% efficient. We'll get into that shortly, but to bring you up to today, there are Energy Star certified heat pump water heaters are more than 300% efficient. Use over, on average, about 2,500 fewer kilowatt hours per year than a standard electric water heater. That means some big savings. And of the more than 70 Energy Star certified products, heat pump water heaters now present the single largest savings opportunities for consumers. Just a quick look, and the context that we provide you in the coming slides, especially Greg from Bradford White will give an overview. But just frame of reference, standard, the integrated heat pump water heater, standard 240 volt, minimum standard to meet Energy Star criteria is 3.3 UEF. Any other water heater that you're looking at is below 1. Now the first hour rating, 45 gallons per hour, most of them are well beyond that. We have also kind of going beyond that is 6-year standard warranty to meet Energy Star certification. I think just about all of our manufacturers here have 10-year warranties on their products. again, just showing the way that they're going above and beyond, and really increasing the performance of their products. We also have a 120 volt, I believe at least one of our manufacturers, actually several of them, will talk about those. And that's a unique opportunity for fuel switching. And we also have a split systems, and we'll have a representative speak about their split systems, which is suitable for a wide range of applications, and just provides additional flexibility. And lastly, just a quick plug for what a lot of consumers are getting excited about and motivated for our, in addition to many of the state rebates, state level and utility rebates. Back in January of this year, we began what will be 10 years of the Inflation Reduction Act with a 30% tax credit towards the cost of a heat pump water heater, including the cost of installation. So that max tax credit is $2,000. And for those who are looking for panel upgrades or may need that, there's additional tax credits towards that. I'm going to hand things over to Paul, and he will bring you through the rest of the slides.
Hey, thanks so much, Nate. And as Nate said, for the last 3+ years, Energy Star has been dedicated to the heat pump water heater product category. And one way they've demonstrated that is that they've partnered with a lot of the manufacturers you're going to hear from today. We put together a council a few years back. And one of the outcomes of that council forming is what you're seeing today, this collaborative output of knowledge and resource all in one place. So we're thrilled to have all of you with us today. Nate, did you want to put the slideshow back up? You still with us, Nate?
I might need another prompt. My apologies.
Yeah, Nate would need to be the presenter to show the screen.
Okay.
We'll make Nate the presenter and you can keep your mic on. How's that?
That works. Apologize for the transitions here. There we go. So as I said, we're thrilled to have so many of you with us today. We've been conducting virtual training webinars like this that then parlay into individual manufacturing training sessions with attendees for the better part of about 1.5 years now. And this is by far the largest audience we've had. So we really appreciate all of you taking the time on a Tuesday afternoon after a long holiday weekend to join us today. As Nate said, over the last few years, Energy Stars has worked very hard to leverage its partner network. There's about 15,000 partners across Energy Star, and that includes manufacturers, home builders, retailers, organizations like BPI, contractors, distributors, and really all points in between. And it really takes that large community of resources to promote this technology, both the product itself as well as installation techniques. And you're going to hear a lot more from our manufacturing partners today on that, both in a general sense and then more specifically to their products. But please take advantage of all of us being here together in one place. Ask your questions, and we can certainly follow up and have more afterwards. This slide just shows you the number of tools and partnerships that Energy Star has been cultivating over the last few years. And I'm going to highlight a couple of those in the next slide. So go ahead and to the next one, Nate. One that we're most proud of, and it continues to grow in popularity, is our heat pump water heater installer finder. So this is a simple tool out on the Energy Star website. The link is down there in the lower right. But a user can simply enter their zip code, and what returns back is within a certain proximity of that zip code, the number of qualified, trained, and educated installation companies for heat pump water heaters. This list is regularly updated by the companies that you see listed there on the lower left of this slide: A.O. Smith, Bradford White, Rheem, and then out in the Northwest, the Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance also manages a active list of contractors. So this tool continues to grow in popularity. We are getting more and more requests from not only individual contractors who want to see themselves listed here and have that publicity and recognition, but from utility program implementers who would like to point their customers directly to this tool. We've not only we've not only made this an installer finder tool, but it's also a retailer finder tool, and it's a product knowledge finder tool. So it's kind of an all-in-one. So depending on what the user is looking for, they can find all that information right here. Next, Nate. Fact sheets and buying guides. So no matter where you are in the supply chain, that touch point with that particular customer is critical. That's an opportunity to educate and excite the individual about the technology and the product, or it's an opportunity to miss out. And so we want to make sure that at every touch point there, that individual is equipped with the right information at their fingertips, quick reference guides, fact sheets, and buying guides here. So whether you're a sales associate on a retail floor, or you're a plumber in someone's home that's just contacted you because their existing water heater has failed and it's an emergency situation, we want to make sure that the most up-to-date and accurate information is there for them to promote this technology and the features and benefits of it. So these are documents that continually get refreshed, and they're also out on the website. This slide is really highlights the wheelhouse of Energy Star, and that's a marketing entity. So they are constantly putting together promotional campaigns and marketing materials out into the industry. And this is an example. That banner on the right-hand side shows the savings associated with heat pump water heaters today. You're going to hear the manufacturers talk about first cost, and when you start to bundle or braid all of these different incentives that are out there today, whether it's the state, it's the utility, it's local government, or now in the federal level with the Inflation Reduction Act, as Nate mentioned, when you put all those together, you very quickly lower that cost of the product down to parity with what you can get from a standard electric or standard gas. In addition, the lifetime savings from operating this unit over an average of a 10-year period is second to none. There is no other appliance, including water heaters in your home, that you can make that brag statement. So it makes it very easy to relay this information to a customer when they're considering this option. Next. Energy Star a couple of years ago recognized that they can't do it alone, and so besides reaching out to the manufacturers, on some of those manufacturers prompting, they introduced us to this guy, Matt Reisinger. Maybe some of you know him. He hosts an entertainment show called The Build Show out on YouTube. He's got millions of followers, hundreds of videos that he's put together. And about a year and a half ago, he worked closely with Energy Star to put this video together. It's a 15-minute spot. And what's really nice about this is you see it in this screenshot. Over his shoulder is a chart where he compares all the costs associated with purchase and operating of the various technologies for water heating out in the market, including gas tankless, electric resistance, gas standard, heat pump water heater. And so he takes you through all the puts and takes, and at the conclusion, it's clear that a heat pump water heater is really the best choice for this particular application. So I encourage you to go out to that link and take a look at that video. We're excited to partner with Matt and his team again this year as the Inflation Reduction Act details become more evident. We're going to ask him to help us share that message across the network as well. Next. So here's why we're together today, right? It's that Energy Star Heat Pump Water Heater Manufacturer Action Council. That's a mouthful, so we've shortened it to SMAC. And what started with 5 manufacturers are now up to, this actually just shows 9. We're actually up to 11 manufacturers now, which is fantastic. And it's really a testament to the original manufacturers and the value that they've seen and the opportunities that it's brought them, such as events like today. Most of these individuals are responsible for the development and execution and delivery of their training materials for their particular brands, but they've all learned to work very well together. Yes, they're fierce competitors, and they want to win in the marketplace, but they also recognize that in order to win across the board, working together up front really makes a difference. And so today is an example of that. So I'm excited at this point. We can go one more slide. Here's a quick view. We'll put this up again later, but here's all the contact information for these individuals that are presenting today. I strongly encourage you to reach out to them afterwards, develop that relationship, get more in-depth, hands-on training, virtual training from these people, because this is your best opportunity right now to be educated and made aware of all the great technology that's out there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Greg Holliday from Bradford White, who's going to give you an industry history and overview of heat pump water heaters. Greg?
Thank you very much, Paul, and welcome to my farm in Kentucky. 22.5 acres out in the Bluegrass State. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in just a second, as soon as I can get my screen share to pop up here. There we go. One second, we're going to pick the right screen. Tell me when you see that nice clean screen, Paul.
Not yet. Oh, there it is.
Excellent. Greg Holliday in Kentucky with Bradford White. I'm going to do a market overview for you for about 15 or 20 minutes to kind of tell you how this whole industry of heat pump water heaters got started. And the first thing that's probably going to surprise you is to know that this is about a 13, 14-year-old industry. It's not brand new. This is something that has been out there for quite a while. In fact, it goes back to 2009 with the introduction of the very first heat pump water heater. So we're going to talk about that as we go through how heat pump water heaters were created first by GE Appliances, of all company, a company that built millions of heat pumps just under different names that we'll talk about here in just a moment. Why are heat pump water heaters so important? Well, it's because of the energy savings that they provide. To be able to earn that very first Energy Star rating back in 2009. An Energy Star rating that said it can't just be a little bit more efficient than the ones beside it. It has to be a lot efficient. We're now at about 3 to 4 times the efficiency. That's a real big deal. We're going to talk about what each manufacturer has to offer. You're in such a unique environment right now that you get to see and hear from all of the competitors out there. You're going to get a snapshot of each of our products as we go through these presentations. So when I finish this brand agnostic portion of this, the industry overview, each manufacturer is going to put their hat on and say, I want you to hear about me now. And they're going to take about 10 to 12 minutes to talk about their product. I want to make sure you hang around to the very end, because I will come on at the end to talk specifically about Bradford White product. We're going to talk about proper sizing, space required, because heat pump water heaters, as easy as they are to install and use, they have one unique characteristic, and that's that they need air. So we're going to teach you about the air requirements and space requirements on these. We're going to talk about the proper use of recirculation pumps, mixing valves, expansion tanks, all things that a plumbing contractor knows a little bit about, but may not understand exactly how they could be affected by a heat pump water heater. And then at the very end, we're going to take time for Q&A, and you got a shot to ask us anything. Tell us stories about what your experience has been, if you've had any. Ask us those hard questions, because we're going to be here to tell you that. So this isn't a substitute for manufacturer-specific installation training. That can come second. You can learn generically about what we're doing. You can hear a little bit about the products that we all have, but then you can also do a much deeper dive with any of the manufacturers on here by signing up to do a very specific sales and installation training to teach you even more. Because this is not a plumbing training, it's not an electric training, and it's not going to get you out of the rest of your day's work. You're still going to have some stuff to do because you're taking a couple of hours out of your time right now. So things I want you to remember. Anytime you get something brand new you have no experience with, read the manufacturer's instructions just once, just one time, because these are very well written, very specific to the manufacturer's product, and very instructive for you to be able to sit down over a bowl of soup for lunch and just thumb through the book. Look at those. When you're talking about using these, remember, proper sizing is essential. It's essential because half of the country has gas water heaters of some sort, and the other half has electric. They're not the same. They don't perform the same. They size differently. And somebody has to sit down and do the sizing properly to make sure that by the house, I can have a 5,000 square foot home with 2 people living in it. That doesn't mean you size the water heater for 2. You size it for what the house is capable of. So making sure that that happens. You're going to learn a little bit about condensate removal, which tankless water heaters have. Heat pump water heaters have as well. Difference is tankless is acidic, heat pump water heaters are not. But that is something you've never had to deal with when it comes to an electric water heater. And then we're going to talk about energy guides, because you should always go to the energy guide. That's the proof of what these things do. That's the proof of the actual savings. The energy guides are all based on all of these products, these energy guide rated products being in the hybrid mode, switching from heat pump to resistance heat, in a 68-degree ambient temperature room with 57-degree water, making periodic draws by the DOE in the test procedure prescribed that every manufacturer has to follow. And then the energy calculation is done to say how much did it cost and how much hot water did it produce. And that's based on 14 cents a kilowatt hour, which is the new multiplier this year. Every water heater uses essentially, when you look at your old electric water heater, it uses about the same number of kilowatt hours, but the multiplier goes up every few years because the cost of electricity and the cost of natural gas goes up. So just keep that in mind as you look at these. This is a level playing field when we do that. So things that you want to remember that you would educate any homeowner, a prospective buyer if you're building a house, or you as a contractor if you're actually doing the installation. Show them the user's guide. Show them the book that says, I tell you how I operate. Make sure they know how to read that. Make sure they know where the manufacturer's phone number is. Demonstrate to them how to use this, because this is an electric water heater with an electronic control that looks a lot like a microwave. Now, that's not going to be uncomfortable for them because we all carry around phones that do that, but it's different from the lack of interaction that you had with an electric water heater in the past. Explain the normal sounds. Electric water heaters were silent in the house. Now they have a fan, and that fan is about the same sound level as a dishwasher in the kitchen. So unless it's in the living space, near the living room, you're not going to hear it. If it's in a garage or it's in a basement, you're just not going to hear it. But you need to understand that there are sounds associated with this. And then helping a homeowner, because these are connected products depending on the market that you're in. Some utilities may want that so that they can talk to the water heater and use it for load control or for tiered billing, but at least help the homeowner download that manufacturer's app to make it easier for them to use. And also, if you're an installer, it's going to be something you're going to want to use as well. So really what we're here to do is to help you learn how to tell the story, because this really is about storytelling and being able to help people understand that they've got other heat pumps in their house. They just have different names. And when you talk about why a heat pump makes sense, in this case, it's because heat pumps move heat, and hybrid water heaters also make heat. Moving heat is cheaper than creating heat. And when you got a hybrid that has both, then you get exceptional performance at a significant energy reduction. You're going to learn about these manufacturer-specific things. So you want to be able to talk to the manufacturer that you're partnering with. And then I hope a bunch of you will go to the next step and talk to us as manufacturers and say, now I want to do a deeper dive. I'll give you an hour of my time to just learn about your water heater. Because really this is about focusing on the big picture. And the big picture is this: every water heater in every home that is out there today that is not a heat pump water heater is less than 100% efficient. Let that sink in for a second. Water heating is the second highest energy user in the home, and the product that you use is less than 100% efficient. That means it loses money every time it turns on. Only heat pump water heaters get above a 1.0 UEF. And the UEF we'll talk about in a moment is that measurement of efficiency that the Department of Energy uses. The higher the number, the better. When you start off with a 0.93 with an electric water heater, you lose 7 cents. When you get up to a 4.07, now you're getting $4 in hot water for every $1 that you spend to heat water. So you really want to stay focused on that big picture and learn how to tell everybody this is a reliable technology that you know and that you trust in your house today, that doesn't put out any greenhouse gas emissions, and some states are very focused on talking a whole lot about that. So knowing that, if you're a builder, to be able to talk about that in your home, that you chose an electric heat pump water heater because it's way up here in efficiency and pays for itself. That's what being above a 1.0 UEF means. The water heater pays for itself through energy savings alone. So talking to people about how normal this is, it really is not a new product. It's a old technology, a refrigerator. You got refrigerators in your house. Guess what they do? They move heat. You put something hot inside the refrigerator, and the refrigerator says, my job every day is to extract that heat and put it at your feet and the floor, because that's where the external condenser coil is with a fan. And when it blows that heat across your feet and the floor, you feel that and say, I wonder where that warmth came from. Well, it was from that big pot of chili you put in there last night that it's still extracting the heat from. Now you couple that with an electric water heater. Again, not a new technology. You put these two pieces together and they work excellent together. And I want you to think about the fact that your heat pump, that one that you've got outside in the garage, that refrigerator with the beer and soft drinks in it that's 20, 25 years old, that's never been serviced, that is the reliability that we're talking about here. Every house has 2, 3, 4 heat pumps, from dehumidifiers to freezers to wine chillers to air conditioning and to refrigerators. Now, how this works is real simple. It's an electronic water heater that says I've got electronic thermistors on the water heater and not crude mechanical thermostats, so I can detect even 1 degree temperature changes. Cold water gets pushed in through one pipe to push hot water out the other pipe, and the water heater says, bang, somebody's taking a shower, so the first thing I'm going to do is turn on the heat pump. Why? Because moving heat is cheaper and easier than creating heat. And a heat pump only uses about 500, 550 watts of power. That's 5.5 100-watt light bulbs. That's it. Standard electric water heaters use 4,500 watts. That's 45 100-watt light bulbs. That's why it responds first with that. And it pulls that warm air in through the evaporator on top, attaches that heat to the 134A refrigerant, compresses that gas to make it boil, and then it releases the heat by wrapping the hot condenser around the outside of the tank, never touching the water. Why is that important? Because 85% of the United States has hard water with calcium and magnesium that causes scale, which essentially causes the water heater or anything touching water to scale up and lose efficiency. So it's wrapped around the outside of the tank under 2 inches of CFC-free high-density foam. This is creating about an R19 energy blanket, which means it only loses about 5 degrees in 10 hours. Now, it also still has the backup heating elements in it, because some houses, most houses, have that 13-year-old that says, my job every day, I swear, is to use every drop of hot water there is. And that's when the water heater, and every manufacturer does this just a little bit differently, running a proprietary algorithm, says, I'm monitoring the ambient air temperature, I'm monitoring the tank temperature, and I've got other sensors on the tank, so I'm going to decide when to add a heating element to that process. Now, if you look at the spec on this water heater, it has the same specs as a standard electric water heater, which is why the sizing stays the same for electric to electric. But if you're changing gas out, you got to put a bigger tank in with any electric water heater, whether it's a heat pump or just a standard electric water heater. So keep that in mind as well. Terminology, you're going to hear things about connected water heaters. Connected water heaters are all of these that have essentially some type of an app associated with it that says a homeowner can now see their water heater on their phone, see the energy usage, they can change the operating mode, they can put it in vacation mode, and they can change the temperature as well. You're going to hear some new terminology that you may be hearing a little bit about, but you're like, what the heck is CTA 2045? It really ought to be like a Star Wars command that says something really cool, but it's not. All that is a hardware that says that on every heat pump water heater, there's like an 8-track tape slot that says every manufacturer makes the same slot, so that any utility that wants to play their 8-track tape can plug it into the water heater, and then they can send what's called JA13 software commands. So you got hardware, CTA 2045, you got software, JA13. Every manufacturer that has a commanding water heater already has that built in or capable of making that happen. Now, we're going to talk about heat pump water heaters as HPWHs, hybrid heat pump water heaters. When you hear hybrid, that means it's two. That means it does both. It moves heat and creates heat. If it just says hybrid or heat pump water heater, then it may only be 120 volt and not have the electric heating elements in it. So pay attention as we go through that. The uniform energy factor, the UEF, that is that snapshot measurement in time, kind of like gas mileage on a car, that says when we test this, we know how much hot water it puts out, and we know how much energy it provides, and it gets an efficiency rating. And efficiency ratings, all except heat pump water heaters, start with a decimal. That should tell you something. That means it's below 1.0, which means it's losing money rather than putting money in my pocket. Unitized heat pump water heaters have the compressor already attached as part of it. You simply take one out, you put one in. You build a new house, you say, I'm going to put these in, bam, there it goes. But then there are also split system units, as you see on the right-hand side of this screen. You got a Nile add-on that can be added to a heat pump. You've got, or to a water heater. You've got a split system CO2 system there. The Sanco, where you got an outdoor unit and indoor tanks. And those are set up a little bit differently and can operate even in sub-zero temperatures. In the middle, you've got a unitized 120. That's representative of two manufacturers that have those right now. Excuse me. And then on the left, you see the unitized 240 volt, 30 amp units, the standard electric water heater, the steady Eddie that's been in the market for a long time. That's where this would replace. One water heater comes out and one water heater comes in. So these are the different designs you're going to see. Now, where can these go? Well, they can go in all kinds of places. There's most all of the things you can think of about where you would put a heat pump, a water heater. This water heater will go as well. The only spot that's difficult is under steps because it's going to bump the top. So think about where you could put it in a house. In the basement, it's great. You get free heat from 8 feet underground temperatures pressing into the basement of a house, that the water heater that says I just need air that's 35, 40 degrees or higher in order to be able to operate as a heat pump, I can use that. Garages, if it's a non-freezing garage, regardless of the market that it's in, if the water heater that normally is in that garage does not freeze, then this won't freeze either. All that means is that if it drops below 35 degrees, it'll be a standard electric water heater during that brief period of time. Laundry rooms, you got heat producers and washers and dryers, great places if you're designing a house to say, let's put these two things together because the laundry room may be the warmest part of the house that you always have. You can put it in a closet. You can put it in a closet with a louvered door because as you see at the top of this screen, we need about 700 cubic feet of air to be able to perform at the stated UEF, 700 cubic feet. So if you've got that much, a 10 by 10 by 7 room, height times width times depth, or a closet that breathes into a 700 cubic foot room, then that's going to be able to work. Venting is rarely, if ever, used. It was a requirement that we thought the industry was going to say you had to have. Turns out after testing was done by several utilities, including the Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance, they said, venting is not needed. The mild cooling effect, the 3 to 5 degree effect that it has in the house is not enough to change the performance of the home, because the first thing most people think of is it steals heat from the house I have to replace. And that simply is not true, as we'll talk about a little bit more later on. Sound, all of these are below 50. 49 are below for a heat pump water heater. This is going to be the sound of a dishwasher. And dishwasher, very quiet product. They used to be about 50, 55 dB of sound. Now they're all below 50, which makes them even quieter because dishwashers have gotten quieter too. So it's just not something that you're really going to notice. Properly sizing the tanks. You always want to remember, if you're a contractor, that a heat pump water heater is a standard electric water heater. Follow that sizing when you look at the National Plumbing Code, but better than that, go to the manufacturer's website. Every manufacturer has something listed on their website about being able to size that water heater. And you don't size electric water heaters the same as you do gas. Gas products can outperform in recovery any electric water heater. So properly sizing the tank, pick a manufacturer, go to their site, look for the sizing tool that they offer, fill out the screen, put the right information in, and then it will spit out a report of some sort that says, here's how this will perform with this number of bedrooms, this number of bathrooms, this number of laundry equipment, dishwashers, things. Follow that manufacturer's instruction. Now, when you specify how this is going to go into a home, you want to consider three things. Expansion tanks on the right. Expansion tanks should be used in every installation. Why? Because typically homes have been an open loop system. When water is heated, it expands. And if you don't have anything blocking it, then the water will expand right out through the main and the ground and get back out into the water main. But water companies for the last 13, 14 years have been putting anti-backflow valves at the main to prevent any water from ever coming back in once it's passed through. Now you have a closed loop system. And a closed loop system says if I don't have a way for that water to expand, then it's going to put pressure on the pipes and everything in that house. So a properly installed expansion tank says the plumber puts something on to measure the water pressure coming into the house, 40, 50, 60, 70. I've got 80 on my farm. And now you match the air pressure that's in this bladdered tank by putting an air valve on it before they leave the shop, and they jack it up to 70, 80 PSI. And then when they find out what it is in the house, they lower that down to match so that as the water presses against it, it pushes in, gives room to expand without ever using the TMP valve or hurting something in the house, and then it pushes it back out when it cools. Putting on a mixing valve. Mixing valves allow you to jack the temperature up of any water heater higher than a scalding temperature, which is where it ships. All manufacturers ship at 120 or 25. In fact, on most water heaters, that's the only number you ever know, except these water heaters, because they have temperature ranges of 100 to 140 degrees. So if you're able to jack that temperature all the way up to 140 and then safely dial it down with a mixing valve, it will perform better in the house by providing hotter water, and you use less of that when you're taking showers. So it makes that water heater feel a little beefier and provide a little bit more. The next thing would be recirc pumps, as you see on the left. We want smart systems, smart pumps. Dumb pumps are ones that run all the time. They say, just in case somebody gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning and wants to take a shower or wash their hands, then we've got hot water in the pipes. A smart system says, I only recirculate that line and reheat water again if somebody actually is in the bathroom and needs it. So putting a system in that says, I at least have a timer on it, and I ask the homeowner, when do you get up in the morning? 6 o'clock, all right, at 10 minutes to 6, we'll recirc the line. Or even better, there are manufacturers out there that have Bluetooth operated systems, motion sensors that go in the bathroom that make it very easy for all of that to take place. You can see here an example of expansion tank and mixing valve in this particular installation. Now, we're getting towards the end of this part of it. This is really the money shot. This is what you want to focus the most on. Heat pump water heaters emit no carbon emissions. You may or may not even care about that, but you ought to care about this. It pays for itself. It pays for itself. Look at every water heater that's below the line. There's your standard gas, a 0.60 for an atmospheric to a 0.63. That means I lose about 40 cents of every dollar I spend to heat water. Gas has been cheap for so long that most people always thought that a gas water heater was higher efficiency because the energy guide said it costs less. Not anymore. Look at the electric water heater, 0.93. That's a whole lot better. It only loses 7 cents of every dollar you spend to heat water, but electricity is more expensive than gas. Now you look at a tankless, and some of you out there would raise your hand and say, yeah, I got a tankless in my house. Tankless are great. They serve one purpose in life. You never take a cold shower again. But they can't pay for themselves through energy savings because the UEF is still less than a 1.0, and it needs to be above that in order to start putting money in your pocket. Now you look at heat pump water heaters all the way up to a 4.07. You're looking at a product that has a 10-year warranty, not a 6. Now they start putting money in your pocket. And you don't just say that's because I'm telling you so. You show somebody the energy guide. A standard electric water heater, $494 a year. That's the new energy guide with the 14 cents per kilowatt hour calculation, compared to a heat pump water heater that could be about 132, some even down to 114. That's the money shot. That's what shows the homeowner exactly what's going to happen. Now, our whole goal today is to get you guys heat pumped up and to become believers in this not so new technology. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to go through every manufacturer. You're going to hear a presentation, a brief presentation from each one. And then at the very end, you're going to hear me come on last. And then after that is finished, bam, it's going to come to Q&A time, and you're going to get a chance to talk with us and ask questions. So now I'm going to hand it over to Francois Labrasseur with A.O. Smith. Take it away, Francois.
Thank you, Greg. Excellent presentation. Super. So yes, you're going to start hearing from the different manufacturers in a concise way. I'm Francois Labrasseur. I work for A.O. Smith. I represent the A.O. Smith State and American brand on the market. And Kelly, thank you for moving the slides for me. So next slide, please. So this is the Voltex AL. This is the 4th generation of A.O. Smith heat pump water heater that we have launched in the fall of last year. What we've done is listening hard to the feedback of the builders and contractors on how to improve further this technology for mass adoption. And we believe that we have the platform for mass adoption of heat pump water heaters. This new platform, Voltex AL, is 4x more efficient than standard electric, like Greg explained, 5x more efficient than a standard gas or a tankless. It also reduces CO2 emissions conversely. The most popular platform, the 50-gallon heat pump water heater, it has a UEF of 3.80. So for every dollar that you're spending on hot water, you have $3.8 of hot water. So among the things that we've heard clear from the builders in particular, it was the need of being able to put that heat pump water heater in a corner, in a wall, and not to waste space. So we have this platform. What we have is that you'll see that all the connections are in the front, whether it's electrical or water connections. As a result, we have zero clearance on the back, zero clearance on the sides. The only clearance is 12 inches on the top. That's all we require, okay? And what we've done is that for an easy swap out, we give the plumber the option to do the water connection on this side, like we always have, or new through the top, okay? So you choose. It's extremely quiet, and we're down to 45 dB. So 45 dB, that's the sound level of the quietest dishwasher you can buy in America. It has Wi-Fi connectivity, but among the best benefits of this technology is you can get reminders, alarms. There's a sensor, so a leak sensor. If there's a leak at the bottom of the water heater, the homeowner is going to be notified. Same way, if there's a need to replace the anode rod, there's going to be notification to the homeowner. That by itself will increase the lifespan of the water heater. It's Energy Star certified, available in 50, 60, and 80 gallon sizes. So next slide, please. So as a result, very high efficiency, added peace of mind with leak sensors, and notification on the anode rod, and much easier to install for the installer. Next slide. So what's new is that this summer we have launched a 120 volt version of that heat pump water heater, Voltex. This is only, and I insist, this is only for replacement, emergency replacement of a gas water heater to a heat pump water heater, okay? But it does a perfect job, like I'll show you on the next slide. It has the same benefits of the platform I presented before: zero clearance, extremely quiet, extremely efficient, and also all with the Wi-Fi connectivity. Next slide, you'll see we're launching two models: a 66-gallon 120 volt and an 80-gallon 120 volt. The 66-gallon 120 volt has the exact same performance, so amount of hot water delivered in the first hour, exact same performance as a 30-gallon or 40-gallon gas. So you can replace a 30-gallon, 40-gallon gas by a 66-gallon 120 volt heat pump and deliver the exact same performance to the customer. Conversely, you can replace a 50-gallon gas by an 80-gallon 120-volt heat pump water heater, and you will deliver the exact same performance. All right? So let's be clear. You're in an emergency situation. You can, with those units, you can replace a gas water heater, no problem. Now, if you are in a new construction situation, or if you're replacing a standard electric, please use our 240-volt models. Next slide. So this is an example of when the customer buy one of these products, they can download an app. In the app, they'll be able to change the temperature, change the modes, and do many other things, such as in the next slide, please, Kelly. You'll see that we actually, those are links which I will provide, where the homeowner can download the app and also schedule if there's a time of use rate of the local utility, so by which the rate varies according on the time of the day, you can actually schedule a water heater so that you take advantage of the times when the electricity is the cheapest. So we have a video to actually help the consumer select those choices in the app. But this is really easy to do. You don't actually need the video to do it. It's in-app selection. So we actually have pretty much every utility in the nation. You select your utility, and then you enter your rate plan, and you're in good shape. Next slide. So those are examples of changing the temperature, changing the mode, and getting notification in-app from the water heater. Next slide. And those are examples of how you're going to be able to select your utility, second screen, and you're going to be able to select your rate plan from the utility, third screen, and how you're going to set your preferences. Are you the kind of customer that really wants to maximize savings? Or are you the kind of customer more traditional that will want to maximize the amount of hot water? And you make that selection in the app. And based on your selection, the water heater will decide when to energize itself. So a very smart machine. Next slide. So like Greg said, this technology doesn't come from the moon. This technology has been going on for a long time. It's like a refrigerator. The only two differences between the standard electric and a heat pump water heater is, one, you need a drain. Two, you need air, because we're pulling the free energy from the air. And in our case, you need 450 cubic feet or more. As long as you have 450 cubic feet, which is basically 8 by 7 by 7, you don't have to do anything. You're in good shape. There's enough air to be able to cool the heat we need. If you have less than 450 cubic feet, do louver doors. Put louvers on the doors. If you have less than 84 cubic feet, so multifamily, small enclosure, this is where you need to duct. And this has become very easy to duct with our new models. Next slide. So I want to mention that for very large homes or for multifamily application with especially low-rise multifamily or restaurants, we do have a very large heat pump water heater. It's a 120-gallon heat pump water heater. It delivers 150 gallon in the first hour. It is Energy Star certified. It has a COP of 4.2. This is something that is a very nice product, which is getting a lot of traction in the market. So if you want more information on this, look for CHP 120 on my website, which is hotwater.com. Next slide. I invite you after this brief presentation, if you want to know more about the A. O. Smith State of American products, go to our university sites. We have, with COVID, we put everything online. So just Google A. O. Smith University, and you'll find everything. You'll find all the tools. You'll find the websites. You can pass a test. You can get certified. Everything is in there to know what you need to know in order to sell and install a heat pump water heater. Next slide. Yes, we have an easy rebate finder on hotwater.com. You input your zip code, you input the model, and then that will pull the kind of rebates and tax incentive which are available to a customer who is a homeowner and in the principal residence. So those are for replacement incentives. If you're in the new construction arena, the rebates typically go to the builders, whether it's a federal tax credit or if it's a utility rebate. Next and final slide, you have my contact information. I invite you, if you want to take a picture of this, and if you want more information, feel free to text me, call me, text me, email me, and I'm here as a resource. I put you in contact with my sales agencies around the nation. I'm done with this presentation. Thank you, Kelly, for moving the slides. And now, next speaker is John Myers at Eco2 Systems. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Francois. And hopefully this will truly work, that I can actually share my screen and that everyone is seeing the slideshow, which I'll just click into and hit the from the beginning, and
that's good.
Pull from where we should be good, right? So
We see it.
Excellent, beautiful. So thanks to Greg, Francois, and Paul and Nate over at Energy Star for everything here. We're going to switch gears a little bit because we've looked at the great way of making your hot water with a hybrid water heater, but we offer a split style system, which is, you know, essentially we decided to break everything up into a two-part heat pump water heater as opposed to having the single part of there that so as Greg showed you on his production or the whole market presentation he did earlier. So this is the Sanko 2 heat pump water heater. We have a couple of models of heat pumps in there. They're both the same capacity. One is just for the super low ambient temperatures that our units will work for in, and then we have the 3 different sizes of tank, and we'll talk about sizing and things like that on these particular systems. But the unique thing for us that we really do is we are the set of people that actually make the hot water by using carbon dioxide refrigerant, because it's environmentally friendly, super low GWP. It makes us the greenest people in there, and I can even get green into my slide that you'll see here. We are Energy Star listed, we're listed for those, and we have a 10-year warranty on these particular systems. We do the UEF numbers slightly lower than some of the hybrids that we've looked at today already, but still right there in the actual ability to take your older less than 1 UEF product and retrofit it or replace it with a 3.75, 3.4 UEF style split type Sanko 2 unit. So how is my system made and put together here? So the heat pump is actually the part that creates all of your hot water. The tank has absolutely no ability to actually make any hot water. It's a storage device for me. Capacity wise, I'm going to match that of an electric water heater, about half of that of a gas water heater, 15,000 BTUs. Ambient wise, as you see, I'm here all the way up to 114 degrees for the super hot summer times, and all the way down to -26 for the super cold winter times. The biggest thing for me is I will always make my hot water at 145 or 150 degrees. There is no way of setting up a temperature for me. I make 145 or 150, that's it, case closed, and away we go on these particular systems. Now you're thinking, oh, how do we actually get that to provide the hot water for my shower at 105 or my faucets and things like that? And we'll move that on here a little bit as we look at the next slide that we've got going on for us. Power-wise, I'm always a 208, 230 volt system. I'm a 15 amp breaker because there are no electric elements for me. It's just heat pump all of the time. And then last but not least, you can look at my heat pump. Even though it lives outside of your home, just like a normal air conditioner or mini split that you have there, it's got a noise level of about 37 dBA on this thing. You can really not hear it as you look at that. So the biggest thing for me that we saw in the slides from Greg earlier is all of my tanks for the residential world will come with a mixing valve. It will then have the ability to take that 145 or 150 degree hot water that's stored in the tank and reduce it down in temperature. So it's now going to be 115, 120 degrees going into the home and things like that. Tank wise, we do three different tanks, 43 gallon, 83 gallon, my 40 and 80 if you want to go that way, and then 119 for that bigger hot water use on these particular things. You'll see that the two smaller tanks are actually stainless steel, so there are no anodes in those particular tanks on there. They'll have a very long longevity for these particular style units, and they don't weigh very much either as a tank, only 88 pounds for my 43 gallon tank. So what we look at, and again, you know, you can go to our website and look at the sizing of it, but we're going to look either at the fixture use in the home, or we can just say how much hot water do each person use in the home. Is it 20 gallons a day? If so, and there's 3 people, maybe I'm using 60 gallons of hot water. If I've got 4 people and everyone's using a little bit more, that's where the additional size comes up, and we can move our tank size up. The heat pump is always the heat pump. The only thing you control over how much hot water you use is how long the heat pump really wants to work in its life. Cold water temperature goes into it, 45 all the way up to 60 and beyond that, if depending on where you are. And we say, okay, my tank is getting cold. How much I need you to recover that tank? I've used 60 gallons of hot water out of it, especially if I've got the 83 gallon tank. How long do you need to run? Well, I'm going to make you close to 22, 19 gallons of hot water an hour on these particular things. And so it'll run to actually recover the tank. However, because your 120 gallon or 120 degree hot water is only going to be 3/4 of a gallon or slightly less of water out of my tank, the heat pump doesn't need to run that long. So even if you use 60 gallons a day, the heat pump just needs to run a little bit over 2 hours, and it can take the day off and relax and hang out just like the rest of us all do. So that's my sizing on here. So your installation side is all going to be controlled by one thing. Unfortunately, we don't do the app for us. We are just an on-off kind of heat pump, water heater. That's my goal in life. It doesn't like to talk to people, just like me. So all it has is a temperature sensor in the tank saying, hey, my tank's getting a little cold. And the reason we do that is each of the tanks has 4 connections. We stratify the tank. We don't mix cold water and hot water. We have them very much separated. Cold water comes into the bottom of the tank, hot water goes out the top of the tank. As the tank temperature, that volume of cold water at the bottom starts to increase and starts to increase. It eventually gets to the tank temperature sensor. It says, hey, heat pump, I'm getting a little cold. Make me some hot water. Heat pump then kicks on its own pump, draws that flow of, or that cold water from the very bottom of the tank on here through the piping that goes from the tank to it, heats it to 145 or 150 degrees and throws it back at the top of the tank. Eventually it will completely recover the tank, so the bottom goes from cold to hot. As the bottom of the tank gets cold, hot, goes from cold to hot, then all of a sudden the heat pump says, bottom of the tank's hot as well, I can hang out and turn off for the rest of the day. So that's my operational world for this on these particular systems. So as you can see, the residential world for me, heat pump lives outside, tank lives inside closets, or if you want to, you can put them both in the garage, because it will provide a little cooling for the garage on there. It makes 15,000 BTUs worth of hot water. It actually cools the place down by around about 12,000 BTUs an hour. We also play in the commercial world. As Francois showed you with the A.O. Smith unit, we just multiply out the number of heat pumps in there, each of these creating 20, 40, 60, 80, and doing the math in terms of how much hot water they make per hour. And then tank size goes all the way up to 500 odd gallons on them. So that's how we do our commercial work. So here's the installation side of things. Again, the great thing about this, tank lives separately from the heat pump. Heat pump lives outside, tank can live in the garage, it can live anywhere it needs to. Piping goes from one to the other, half an inch all the time from the heat pump to the tank, from the tank to the heat pump, from the heat pump back to the tank, and so on and so forth. And as you can see here, we've got the picture of the 119-gallon tank showing you the mixing valve, showing you the expansion tank, because we like to be able to control that increase in water volume as we've warmed it up. And then last but not least, the controlled recirc pump for doing all the recirc around the house as and when it's needed on these particular style systems. So the installation, a little bit more complicated, a little bit more piping, but we use the same style connections and additional components as you will with any other water heater.
2 minutes.
Power wise, 230 volt just to the outdoor unit. And again, as we talked about, the tank temperature sensor being the ultimate on for the heat pump is where we go with that particular style system. So that's the wiring that you'll do for these particular units. Again, not really much in the way of doing control for these particular systems. In fact, if you turn it on as soon as you've got it all installed and the water filled with water, we can actually go and make hot water, and you don't have to set anything on the heat pump. It will always make you 145, 150. The only thing that we can really do is we can do some block out times. We can do some actual view of what temperature the unit's making and how it's working. So very simplistic style controller for me with the Sanco 2 unit. So last but not least, of course, the most important part of all of this is that this is a different style product. So training, we can do that. We can set you up either with my local sales reps that have there, or we can do 1 to 2 hours at your location, maybe with some sample units and things like that. Or we're happy to do the video conference type of training on here. And then last but not least, on these style systems, what you can see is you can see actually my contact information and phone number, again, text, email, we can handle all those things. So with that, I say thank you for listening to this, and then what we can do is I will change the presentation to Josh over at American, and we can see if we can get that going for there. So thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you, John. Let me see. Are you guys already seeing my screen? I'm trying to get it to share, but I'm not sure what it's sharing.
Yep.
Looks like the presentation to me.
Okay, it's not giving me the option between my screens, so I'm just going to change some things around here. That way you guys can see more of the presentation. All right, as John said, my name is Josh Gonsalves, representing American Standard Water Heaters. So I'd like you guys to meet our hybrid heat pump water heater. So our product is new to the market here in the US, but it is based on 4th generation technology from Europe, where we get our technology from the heat pump water heater leaders over there. We've just kind of Americanized the product for our market here. So in our product, you can get a 50-gallon, 65, or an 80-gallon, with our 40-gallon coming later this year. So you can get up to a 4.01 UEF and an 87-gallon first hour rating. So similar to the other products you've seen, up to a 75% reduction in cost versus a standard electric as far as running costs goes. And we are endorsed in all the top level incentive schemes. So if anyone's familiar with NEA, we are in their tier 4, which is essentially the highest you can get with heating elements. So we do offer our product with those backup heating elements. We are fully ready for demand response. So I know Greg gave a little bit of an introduction to that. We are EcoPort certified. So we do have that CTA 2045 port, fully demand response compliant. So you can, utility can put one of those universal communication modules on this product, basically speak to it in any language, and then our product will react accordingly. We were the first listed Energy Star connected product, which is great. And then not necessarily big for here, but we have separate SKUs out in California. As far as leak detection goes, our product does come standard with a leak detection sensor. And then you can also opt to get the optional shutoff valve. That's an accessory. And the way that works is basically you're going to take that sensor, you're going to drop it in the pan, and if any water leaks in or around the unit and that sensor gets wet, it's going to send a notification to your app. If you do have the optional shutoff valve, it'll basically shut off the water inlet. That way you're not just siphoning water out. As I mentioned, we do have an app, so smart connectivity. You can connect our product up to Wi-Fi in the home. And then if you download our ComfortLink mobile app, you can go in and do remote control. You can set schedules, energy reports, you can do diagnostics. I'll give that a little bit more about that in a few slides. We do offer total comfort and full control with this product. So we do have 6 working modes and what we call a boost function. That boost function is basically a one-time heat up that's going to use your heat pump and your heating element, so full power. Not meant to be used consistently, but if you have, an extra guest, you're expecting an extra shower and you need that quicker recovery, you can hit that button, and for one heating cycle, it's going to use full power, and then it'll go back into whatever mode you had it in, whether it was heat pump only mode or the hybrid mode. We also, exclusive to this product, have what's called iMemory. It's a working mode, but it's a habit learning algorithm. So basically what that's going to do is watch how the end users use their water, when they shower, how much water they're using, and it's basically going to create a smart schedule to make sure that they're getting additional energy savings when they're not using hot water and making sure that they have hot water when they need it. Beyond that, if you prefer to be a little bit more manual, you can go into the app and set up advanced time scheduling. It's up to 3 time slots per day, and you can do it for every day of the week. You can set your temperatures and working mode for that. So it's really involved if you really want to get technical with it. And we do offer some peace of mind. So we do have really thick and durable steel tanks paired with 2 anode rods in each tank. So you have your standard magnesium anode rod, and then you'll also have a powered anode rod. The powered anode rod is going to do most of the work. I would say 99% of the work. The magnesium is really a belt and suspenders for long periods of power outage or any type of strange water chemistry. The magnesium anode will help out. Otherwise, that powered anode is going to do all the work, and it's non-consumable, so you don't have to replace it. And then to tie everything together, we do offer a 10-year tank and parts warranty. Some additional features and benefits of working with American Standard water heaters. Our hybrid is only sold through wholesale channels, so there's no price competitiveness between us and ourselves, essentially, between retail and wholesale. You're just getting it through our wholesale distributor partners. We are fully third-party tested, so our UEF and first hour rating, noise ratings, connectivity, and safety, everything has been done through third parties. So we have certificates for all of our ratings that you'll see. Just a note on that noise rating, I didn't mention it in the previous slide, but we're at 49.1 decibels. We've also designed this tank to be as efficient as possible for servicing. So we do 1 parts list across all capacities. The only thing is the anode rod, which you don't necessarily need to change. Like I said, it's a consumable anode rod, but that powered anode rod is going to do the majority of that work. So that magnesium anode rod does change size by size, but fortunately, it shouldn't be consuming all that much. We do have a tech support line that is dedicated for the heat pump water heaters. So we have a bunch of trained specialists that are ready to go, that are very, very well trained on this product, that can answer all of your questions. And if you dial in, you can dial the number 3 option, and it'll put you right in a queue for the heat pump water heaters. With our product, there's no need to handle refrigerant or have any type of HVAC licensing. We understand that, we work with plumbers, we make water heaters. So if anything goes wrong with the refrigerant carrying components of the product, so the compressor, the evaporator, any of the, piping or seals, any of that will result in a full unit swap out. But we do, as I mentioned, have a parts list. So the heating elements, the control board, fan, filter, anything else you may need to replace throughout the life of the product is available. But anything in that 10-year period that goes wrong with the refrigerant side is a direct swap out. similar to what you've heard in the other presentations, we do require 700 cubic feet. If you don't have that, you can get our air inlet or air outlet ducting adapters. They terminate an 8-inch, so you can just bolt one of those onto the unit and then do your ducting. You can even duct your outlet. It is clean air, so you can duct that right into another room of the house, let's say, if you want some additional cooling, which is it's a nice little feature, nice bonus feature. We do also note that you can do as little as 0-inch clearance on the back of the unit and the left side of the unit. For installations in the corner, let's say, we do have side connects on the right side, so you need some clearance there, as well as the air outlet. And of course, on the front of the unit, you want to be able to service and control the unit. So we do offer, or we do require some clearance there. The one thing we note with 0-inch clearance is if something ever does need to be checked within that top cover where the heat pump group is, there are some screws on the back that might be difficult to get to. So just something to note if you do need to put this in a corner. It is 0-inch, but you may need to get to those hard to reach screws afterwards. Last thing I'll note here is that the product can be laid down on its back for transport. What happens is at the end, when you get to your location, you're going to need to have it upright for about an hour, just to let everything settle back down. But from what we've been told and what we've seen in installations, by the time the unit gets down into its location, put into place, hooked up the water connections, hooked up the wiring, and actually put water in the unit, your hour's already eaten up. It's not that big of a deal. And then you can fire up the unit once the tank is full.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, perfect. All right, so like I mentioned, we do have our ComfortLink app. You can see a few screens from that here. I'll just touch base. The home screen allows you full control of your working modes, and you can see your set temperatures and your current temperature. You do have a screen for any error codes that may happen. And then the last one there is your energy awareness. So you can go in there and see how much energy you've used and just how it was used. So whether it was the heat pump or the heating elements. Just a note, we know that water heaters tend to get tucked into corners or in closets, but didn't stop us from trying to make a nice, elegant design that looks great. We have a full LCD display that is loaded with icons and information. It is capacitive touch, so no buttons to break on you. You just touch the screen and it's going to operate. We do have some sales literature on the website and through our local reps. So if you ever want to reach out and get some, you can go right to our website, AmericanStandardWaterHeaters.com. You can find our spec sheet and our catalog. And if you ever wanted the sales brochure, you can reach out to us and we can get you our 4-page sales brochure as well. And last, for my last few seconds here, I'll throw up the contact information. So my name's right there on the left, Joshua Gonsalves. Ron Johnson is our national training manager. Unfortunately, he couldn't attend today, but he'll be on these future presentations. So feel free to reach out to either one of us and we can get you set up with virtual training or in-person training. All right, I think it's going over to Greg. So
Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin.
Oh, sorry, Kevin. Apologize.
No worries.
Usually you're before me.
Let me just get into presentation mode here. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep, Proterra, yep.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, thanks again, everybody. Oh, just swapped over. Thanks again for attending this afternoon. We know everybody's busy, so we'll make this brief as we get down to the final stretch. So what we're talking about today from the Rheem offering is the Proterra. It's our 5th generation heat pump water heater that's been out on the market for a few years now. So, really just to give a quick overview for those that don't know Rheem or haven't worked with some of our brands. Obviously, we're a global manufacturer, but here in the States, we have a nice position of being almost 100 years old in both the HVAC and water heating. We do pool boilers as well as commercial boilers, as well as commercial refrigeration. So, we're talking about heat pump water heaters and these refrigeration cycles. We really do have a long tradition of managing these type of products. So, it puts us in a unique position of really having a good understanding. And, this is just a quick map of our U.S. operations. As you can see, we have offices across the country, employing thousands of folks here in the States. And of course, we have, a nice global presence abroad as well. So, what are we talking about today for all of you running a business out there? We're talking about heat pump water heaters. Maybe you haven't heard about them in the past. Why should you do anything different? These are, questions that should start to be, revolving in your mind. And, really right now is a great opportunity to, attach yourselves to something new. It is a great offering for your customers because you're going to offer them the most efficient water heater on the marketplace today with a heat pump water heater. There's great incentives to make the switch, the $2,000 federal tax credit. Look at rebates in your area. Every manufacturer's website probably has some sort of rebate finder. I know Rheem.com does as well. So type in your rebates or type in your zip codes, find your local rebates, have that conversation with your customer, and really start to think about what this means for your business. Obviously, as a premium product, you're going to charge a premium installation price. You'll be able to increase your profitability, your revenue, just by talking to consumers. Start to talk about, the carbon savings. Depending on how clean the carbon is in your area, you could save up to a ton of carbon per year just by making the choice to a heat pump water heater. Obviously, the big reason people switch over is savings. And as Greg already demonstrated, this has the best potential of saving money in your water heating bill every single month. So let's get down to what we have. This is the ProTerra, as I mentioned, is our 5th generation heat pump water heater. We loaded it with tons of features and benefits for the customer. Probably the one that resonates most with folks is that leak detection and automatic shutoff valve. Again, if a leak is present in the pan, within 15 seconds, it's going to tell that shutoff valve to close off the incoming water, and holding that leak to about 20 ounces of water. So very much like when you put your finger over the straw and lift it out of the water, it creates a vacuum. And that's why all 50 gallons won't leak out onto the floor, only about 20 ounces will. Of course, if the consumer downloaded the app, which hopefully they do, they can get a notification on their phone and send their contractor a message saying, hey, I need some help, my water heater's leaking. In regards to the app, obviously there's more functionality to that. On the homeowner end, it's a full remote control. They can switch the modes, they can switch the set point temperatures, to really customize their hot water delivery. We give them how much hot water is available in that tank, so they can find out if they have enough hot water for that last shower. In areas of the country, we're talking about time of use rates. So it's more expensive during certain periods of the day to run your water heater than others. So you can schedule this thing very much like your HVAC unit. And of course, us being a HVAC manufacturer, we packaged all that thermostat technology into the app for the ProTerras. You're going to get usage reports, health alerts. That way you can schedule service calls instead of having emergency service calls on a 5 o'clock on a Friday. For some reason, they always seem to happen then. Moving on, when you take a look at the Rheem offering, it's the widest in the market. We have a couple of different versions of 120 volts. We have a good, better, best solution for the 240 volts. So that's your, typical electric to heat pump offerings. We even make a 15 amp version of the ProTerra, which again is another feather in your cap from a contractor standpoint. Say if there's only, a 20 amp breaker, well, how the heck am I going to get a 30 amp service going in there? Well, you can just select the 15 amp version and be fine. We have light duty commercial offerings as well as the large, boiler replacement with the commercial split systems out there in the market as well. So when we're talking about the 240 models, again, these are, going to be prevalent models in the marketplace. Again, we have a good, better, best solution for you. The builder is at a 3.5 UEF. so it's still very efficient. But it's you know, our less featured model, so it's going to be, you know, priced at a lower price point. The ProTerra, actually, that's old information. We're up to a 4.07 UEF, so it's the most efficient heat pump on the market today. And we're at about 49 decibels as well. The ProTerras are NEA Tier 4 certified, so again, you're getting that, highest efficiency ratings out there. On the 120 volts, again, you know, we put this in blue where these things fit well without any considerations. It's not to say that these can't go in the white areas of the map, just extra consideration needs to be taken into account for. If your water heater is in the garage in the white areas of the map, this is probably not the right product. If it's in an outdoor shed, probably not the right product for you, because if the ambient temperature drops below 37 degrees, there is no backup element in these 120 volt products in order to supply some sort of heat for you. So, you know, again, for the most part, areas in the white of the country will place water heating in the interior of the house, either in the basement or utility closet. So it's not to say that they can't work there, it's just that we really need to have that extra consideration. But for the areas, you know, the Sun Belt, the smile of the country, these are really great gas to electric products. So if the customer has solar on the roof, this makes it a really good option for you, the contractor, to say, hey, I notice you have solar on the roof. Why don't we ditch your gas bill, you know, at least for the water heater section of it, and replace it with a heat pump water heater and have your solar panels, you know, basically charge your heat pump water heater and have no utility cost associated with it. Again, we have two different flavors. We have a dedicated circuit model, again, a full ton of heating. That's about 15,000 BTUs. We have those in a 40 to 50 gallon capacity. Again, you kind of want to pay attention to sizing, and we can help you out with training as well. But we want to really limit this to about a family of 5. Anything more than that, we really want to push to that 240 model. On the shared circuit models, again, this is our current heat pump platform up here. It's going to run about 400 watts, and it's going to produce the equivalent of about a 1700 watt element. We're going to, again, suit the needs for up to a family of 5. Typically for single family homes, you want to stick to the 65 and 80s. For multifamily, you can get down into the 40 and 50 gallon models. This is kind of what my 120 volt looks like throughout the year. I live in Las Vegas, so a little bit cooler winters, obviously very hot summers. You can see I'm using just about a little over a kilowatt hour a day during the summertime, so it doesn't really cost me very much. I'm on an EV rate, time of use rate, so I shut my water heater off from 1 to 7 every single day, and I get a special lowered rate for that time. So I spend about $70 a year to heat water, which again, not only is it the most efficient way to heat water, it's going to be the most cost-effective way to heat water. I previously had a tankless, and you know, was probably spending about $200 a year to heat water. So it's definitely a good option. So you're finding out about all these different heat pump water heaters. What are some of the next steps that you guys should choose? Certainly, you know, we'd like to partner with you. We have lots of advantages across the country with our partnership programs on Myrene. There's training resources, you know, parts, you know, fleet discounts, you know, for your vehicles, marketing, what have you. So we'd like to, you know, step alongside you and build that relationship. You can always reach out to me. My email is up there. If you're looking specifically for training, we have canned training sessions on greentraining.com. If you don't know your local reps, reach out to me. We'll get you plugged in with them. You know, those local reps will obviously help you with the distributors in the area as well. What we also do, we have 5 innovative learning centers across the country. So we fly you into one of these centers for a couple of day intensive training about all of our high efficient products, you know, including the heat pump water heater. We can, you know, help you sell these things, you know, talk the talk and walk the walk, and get you set up in that regard. So with that, in summary, you know, again, you know, love this type of collaboration where we can all get together and talk about all the good things that heat pump water heaters can do. If you're paying attention to what's going on nationally, this is going to be the electric water heater of choice before the end of the decade, right? So you can, now is your chance really to be that early adopter. Utilize those rebates to sell this high efficient product before it becomes mandated. And it is, as you already know, that low standard water heater is a commodity item. Eventually, the heat pump water heaters will be that commodity item. So might as well take advantage of it now and get going with your selling opportunities. And if you have any questions, my phone number and email are there. Look forward to talking to you soon. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Greg.
Fantastic. We're at the end here. Do your 7th inning stretch right now because you're one presentation away from the Q&A time. If I can get this back on the right screen, tell me when you can see that full screen for me, Paul.
You too, Greg.
All right. Thank you very much. If you're not heat pumped up by now, I'm going to take you over the top of the mountain for sure. I'm Greg Holiday with Bradford White, and now it's on this side. Yeah, whatever side it's on here. I'm going to put my Bradford White hat on, and I'm going to talk to you specifically about why you should be heat pumped with Bradford White. I spent 32 years at GE, and I'm so passionate about this product that when GE created this, and I had the privilege of introducing it as the GE GeoSpring, it's the first Energy Star ever rated water heater back in 2009. And we private labeled that for Bradford White. And when GE got bought by the Chinese, the High Air Company, and said, we're getting out of the water heating business almost 7 years ago, Bradford White hired me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to walk away from a 32-year career because I believe in this product. I believe in this product because it's practical. If it saves a homeowner $300 to $400 a year and it has a 10-year warranty, how do you beat that? How do you beat that? That really is what the story is all about, is it pays for itself. And I thought this is something I want to finish out my working career doing. So here I am, 6.5 years, almost 7 years with Bradford White, teaching the same thing. We're now Energy Star Partner of the Year 4 years in a row. And a big part of that is because of what we do specifically with heat pump water heaters. Now, I want you to earn a completion certificate with me. I want you to partner with Bradford White. I know this is your introduction and you're getting a taste of all the manufacturers here. You're seeing all of the products. I want you to side with Bradford White, and I'm going to give you some very compelling reasons as to why you should do that. We make the only heat pump water heater that's made in the United States. The only one. And I can hear some of you cheering right now, USA, USA. That's what this is all about. GE manufactured in Louisville, Kentucky, which I live just outside of Louisville still today. Bradford White bought the GE plant, picked it up out of Louisville, and moved it to Middleville, Michigan to join with the other manufacturing that we do in the United States. So it is the only one, when you look at the box, that is not going to say any other country that you can think of. This is purely made in the United States in Middleville, Michigan. We're the only manufacturer that has Microban antimicrobial protection built into the liner of every water heater we make, not just the heat pump water heater, all of them. You say, why is Microban such a big deal? Well, we bake on a Vitriglass tank lining and we incorporate this antimicrobial finish that's been around for about 35 years from a company in California. This is the same company that puts this same protection on countertops in all commercial kitchens, floors in commercial kitchens, cookware in commercial kitchens, and now doorknobs in homes. Some of you are seeing that as you're building houses. Dishwashers, GE has a Microban coated dishwasher. Laundry equipment, any place that mold and mildew could be associated with water, a Microban coating is going to be valuable in the home. And this is something that homeowners will love and appreciate. I've got the only heat pump water heater that is not sold. I'm sorry. I've got the only heat pump water heater aside from American Standard now that is not sold in retail. We sell this and design this for plumbing contractors to be able to be professionally installed by plumbing professionals only. We don't sell in any retail stores anywhere. I've got rigid top connections on this water heater, hard pipe plumbed all the way up 12 inches from the top of the tank to get up through where the heat pump actually is, so that when you replace a water heater in the house, it is designed to be a replacement. I've got also the only heat pump water heater that is 100% repairable in the home, including the sealed system. When your GE refrigerator has a sealed system problem with a compressor or a leak someplace, a GE guy would come out and actually fix it. This is designed to be repaired in the home. Your HVAC guy, it doesn't cut off that outdoor unit if a compressor goes bad. They actually fix and replace it. We believe that that builds confidence in the product. GE believe that. Bradford White still believes that as well. So it can be fully repaired in the home. If you don't have an HVAC license and you're a contractor, don't worry about that. You won't have to work on that portion of it. As I mentioned earlier, the sealed system side is extremely reliable, and I should know I've got 13 years of service history with this design product in the industry. I've got the product that is designed to have support 24 hours a day. We're the only manufacturer that does that for contractors. We never close, and that's because we cater to contractors at Bradford White. So anytime a contractor has a question on anything we manufacture, anytime a homeowner has a question, anytime a builder has a question, you can call us. I even have a dedicated heat pump water heater line that puts you to the front of the line just for heat pump water heaters. Now that does have limited hours. It's available from 8 to 7 Eastern time, but everything can go through the 24/7 number as well. So we provide that same kind of support. We mentioned microband already. I've got documentation that you can use to show homeowners. This adds a feature to your house if you're a builder. It adds a feather in your cap as a contractor when you're out there talking to the homeowner about why you chose the water heater brand that you have. We've got one design. We've got one brand. Bradford White is the only name we market under, one parts list, and 3 sizes, a 50, a 65, and an 80-gallon water heater. Now, the 30% federal tax credit should be front and center if you're out there talking as a contractor, because today you only sell water heaters when they leak and they have to be replaced, or in new construction, and you have no control over winning any of that business other than to offer the best price. But when you proactively talk about this to a homeowner as a business decision in the house as a result of a 30% federal tax credit, and in some states rebates that are up to $1,000, this product pays for itself 3, 4, 5 years. They get all their money back. That is the benefit of this. Use the energy guides to tell that story. The 50-gallon electric, $494. My Aerotherm, $132 a year. That's savings that is easy math. You're not going to have to read any footnotes to know how that's calculated. This is one water heater they could have, and this is another water heater they could have. What's the difference? $362 a year. Now, I've upgraded a few things on mine, and you'll notice that my UEF is not the highest in the industry, but I don't want you to get hung up on the decimal points, because from top to bottom, when you compare them, there's a $10, $11, and $12 difference between the top models and the lower UEF models as well. So over the course of the next 10 years, that's $120 that somebody's going to save more, but did they pay more for the water heater? I want you to also notice we've added a hybrid plus mode. Everybody has a hybrid mode, a mode that says heat pump first, and then add the upper heating element if you need to. But my hybrid plus mode says, after I add the upper heating element, because I have 2 sensors on the tank, when the top one becomes satisfied, we can now swing down and add the lower heating element and the heat pump and turn off the upper heating element. That gives us a deep tank heat, and it also gives us a higher volume of recovery just in being able to do that. So keep that in mind. I've got the only connected device that is thinking about where this water heater is located, which is in a garage in some cases, or in a basement where the Wi-Fi signal may not be very strong. So we didn't build it in. We took this and said, let's make this where it can be up to 100 feet away and put it where there is a good Wi-Fi signal. So as a contractor, you would stand in the house where the water heater is, look at the homeowner's Wi-Fi, just open your phone and look at their connection. And if you only see 1 or 2 bars, you know that water heater is not going to reliably stay attached. So this can be plugged into the water heater, and then that cord can be attached 100 feet away using just simple Cat5 cabling. It's very easy to install. In fact, we make it so easy that contractors All they have to do is hit a QR code in the book, and it walks them through, or the homeowner through, downloading the app, making all of the connections and making it go. Now let's talk about leak detection. Leak detection has been around for a very long time in the home. It's recently making a resurgence in tank leak detection, but I want you to notice what tank leak detection does. Tank leak detection says you can have sensors on the floor around the tank, and you can have a shut-off valve or no shut-off valve. Just knowing that there's a leak in the house is always of value. But when you shut off the cold water side, and you can see that with this Fluid Master RO94 MK4, what they clearly say is you are shutting off one side and you are creating a vacuum. But as soon as somebody opens a faucet in the house because they don't know that it's doing something wrong, all of a sudden you've broken the vacuum. And look at what they write in this add-on kit that looks very familiar here. It says, however, all or some of the water that is already in the tank may leak out into the floor because you open a faucet. That's the way that works. So the better way, if you're going to leak detect the house, is protect the whole house. This is what insurance companies look at. When you put a whole house shutdown and a trickle detection model that says, I can tell whether a toilet is leaking, or whether it's an ice maker valve that is leaking, or a laundry washer valve that is leaking, or the water heater, because I watch everything that happens and shut the entire house down. So if that's a concern for you and your homeowner, or you as a builder, put in the one that's truly going to protect the house and gain some insurance confidence. Where we build these is in Middleville, Michigan. You're getting a quick peek into the plant to see how this starts as an electric water heater and ends up with a condenser wrapped around it and turned into a heat pump water heater. What's different about this is that it needs air, 700 cubic feet of air. If you take less air with any heat pump water heater, the performance goes down. It changes that UEF. So at 700 cubic feet, you are in line with exactly what we show on the water heater. Can you put it in a closet? Yes, with a louvered door. It will remove up to 2 quarts of moisture a day. It's a gravity feed on that part of it, and the only point of maintenance is filter. If it gets clogged up, it has an air sensor. It's actually measuring the flow. It will beep and get the homeowner's attention so that they know to come and clean it. Can you put it in a smaller confined space, still providing adequate air? Yes. But anytime you push the heat pump water heater up against the wall, you're likely covering up screws that would be necessary to take out for service. I'm going to tell you that up front because I don't want you to lose a sale putting one of these in as a result of that. But I do want you to go in with your eyes wide open that know that if you have to service it and you put it up against the wall and you can't get the top off of it, you may have to drain a heat pump water heater, uninstall it, take it out, fix it, and put it back in. And remember, the warranty is 10 years on all the parts, compressor, condenser, evaporator, even the heating elements, but it is 1 year labor. So anywhere down the line that it has to be serviced, just know that if you have to put it in a confined space, that is going to affect that bill for replacement. The service portion of this is real easy for Bradford White. We've got 13 years of history of behind service on this product. So what I want you to do is to call us. Anytime a fault code shows up on the display, the homeowner is going to call you as a contractor or you as a builder. Now you call us because we never close. And you give us a model number, a serial number, and the fault code. We walk you through what we believe has happened. If it's a problem with the heat pump, it switches to resistance heat. If it's a problem with resistance heat, it switches to heat pump. And they still have hot water. And that really is the main thing that you want to remember is the reliability of these products is proven. It's not a gamble. It's not a guess. It absolutely works. So here's my information, Bradford White, Greg Holiday, my phone number. I answer my cell phone. I answer my text unless I'm doing another webinar. But I want you guys to partner with me, and I want you to get heat pumped up and excited about talking about this water heater. Now, you did it. You made it through the whole presentation. There's still almost 300 of you still here on this call. So congratulations and thank you very much. Now we're going to go into some Q&A time. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Greg. And everybody, you should be seeing my screen when you're.
Yep.
Excellent. And I'm going to make this image big so you can see it pretty. So many of our questions are housekeeping items, and I'm going to start with those because they're BPI matters. First one, yes, there will be a recording available. We will send it to you in an email when this broadcast is done, most likely tomorrow. We will also provide contact information for all of our presenters. The other question many people are asking is, do I have to do anything to get my BPI CEUs? The answer to that is no. If you have attended, we will apply that CEU to your account. And you can double check to make sure it happens. It will probably take about a week, but you don't need to do anything to make it happen if you're in attendance. The other thing to keep in mind is that we will likely do this event again. I know this was a lot of information. I think some of you are like, oh my God, I can't take notes fast enough. That's okay, because we're going to do this event again. So the first question, which is a technical question, and I will let any of you jump in who wants to jump in. Are there any case studies showing successful retrofits of heat pump water heaters to replace gas heaters in small multifamily buildings, 6 units or less?
I don't know if that has to be a case study. It really is an application question. And, we believe as manufacturers, you apply the right product to the right problem. And if I know what the needs are from gas water heaters for 3, 4, 5 units of apartments or even larger, then there are products in the market that you can apply to that. Sometimes it's putting gangs of heat pump water heaters, 80-gallon ones together. And some people say, well, gosh, if you got to use 4 of those, you got to have enough room. Yeah, you do, or 5 of them, you got to have enough room. But the good news is when you've got multiple water heaters, if one should have a problem, the whole building still has, all the apartments still have hot water. Whereas if you've got a unitized system that's just one for the whole building and it goes down, everybody's unhappy. This way, at least if you could get one that has a problem, you can fix it while the others are still supplying. But I would say, bring those situations to us as manufacturers to say, here are the specifics of my application. Let us get some eyes on it and tell you, because we'll be the first one to tell you that's not a good application, or yes, this is how this would work.
Thank you.
Yeah, there are some good case studies out there, especially in California, doing gas to heat pump conversions in a low-income environment. There's specifically some incentive programs out there for that in build. So, if you look at Tech Clean California, they're going to report out a lot of those programs, and you might get a better view of the successfulness of that. But yeah, for the most part, when you're doing that type of swap out, again, we're just following these recommendations of air, you need that condensation drain, and then the right product for the installation.
Yeah, find the right product. Look at first hour rating, and about 12 states in the United States have main utility program that offer rebates, sizable rebates for fuel conversion.
All right, next question. How important is it that a contractor be OEM certified for these installations? Should it be a requirement second question, should it be a requirement in EE programs? I suspect that's one you can't answer.
Well, I mean, every manufacturer's product, as you've seen, they're similar in some ways, but then there are some differences that are critical when it comes to installation and operation. So we like the fact that we get to do direct teaching and training and webinars to be able to make sure contractors know, because we certainly do find out when it's not done right. It comes back in the form of a call to the company, and then it ends up coming to me, and then I'm looking at pictures and saying, did somebody forget to open that book we talk about reading at least once? Because we want to make sure that the homeowner is happy, that the contractor is happy, that the distributor is happy, and then we're happy. We're at the end of the food chain for that part of it. But there's a lot of people that need to have confidence in this product, and proper installation is critical, which is why California requires it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you can, to Greg's point, you can open up that book. Of course, we know that a lot of folks don't, but yeah, you can get through it, but it would be a lot easier if you had manufacturer support to help you with these applications to make sure you're not going back on a service call. So training is a big part of our lives. And, that's something we all pride ourselves on.
It's not a very difficult product to install. It installed exactly like a Stan Electric with the differences that we have highlighted. We've made things easy with videos. You spend an hour of your time, you get certified. It's an hour well spent.
And as Greg said, as Francois just said, there is a video, of installation and stuff like that on pretty much everybody's website and things like that. So that does help you with all the basics. But,
just don't watch another contractor install, because we sometimes have to chuckle at some of the things we see with those.
Well, and Greg, exactly your point. I think Energy Star, the way they look at it is with so much attention and focus coming into the marketplace now on these products, that's both a great opportunity, but it's a risk as well when you think about the diversity of information that's out there and the delivery of that information. And so sometimes the accuracy isn't where it needs to be. Give credit to these manufacturers. They continue to innovate on this product for the better part of a decade plus, even though it's commanded a very small market share. But we all feel like all that hard work's going to really pay off now as we move forward and with the focus and attention it's getting. But with that, we want to make sure that anytime there's people talking about the information is shared, there's training going on, we want it to be the most accurate, up-to-date, and effective information possible. And from Energy Star's perspective, we think this group of getting it from the manufacturers is absolutely the best source. And they're here and they're available and they're willing to help other organizations. So it's as much continuity and consistency and accuracy as it is just the individual delivery from this team. But that's absolutely where Energy Star is endorsing.
All right, next question. When building a manual J, do we have to model the heat pump water heater as a heat sink?
Who wants to take a stab at that one? Paul, I thought you were certified, weren't you? I would not think that you would. Logic would say no. But I can't answer that with confidence.
Yeah, it's a tough one because it is variable depending on usage, right? So typical usage, this thing's going to run for a few hours a day. They're around a third of a ton, so there is, a little bit of heat is drawn out in the heating period, but you're going to have an overall benefit, for most of the year, your spring, summer, fall. It's going to dehumidify as well, which typically will help your HVAC system run a little bit more efficiently. But from what we've heard in the past is there's no manual J edition for the heat pump water heater being in the space.
Yeah, usually the question is more related to, and we hear this all the time, you're stealing heat from my house that I now have to replace. And it depends on where the water heater is. And NEA did a very in-depth 1-year test with 2 test homes unoccupied, moving water heaters in both houses sitting side by side from basements to upstairs to closets to bathrooms to laundry rooms to try to figure out, is there a significant effect on the performance of the home with the cooling effect? Now, the cooling effect is about 3 to 5 degrees in a 700 cubic foot space. Mine happens to be a 5,000 BTU compressor. And when it turns off, the cooling effect is gone in 10 to 15 minutes. So, GE used to make an air conditioner called a Carry Cool. You could put in a window and heat or air condition one room, your bedroom, but it ran all the time. Heat pump water heaters don't do that. They might run 3 hours in the morning. And then because they're insulated to an R19, they only lose 5 degrees in 10 hours, which means when you're gone, it's not running. It's not continually operating. And then when you get home, it might run 3 or 4 more hours spread out in the evening time, and then it satisfies the tank and it doesn't run all night. And where it's located in the basement, if it's sitting next to your furnace, you're not drawing air in from that room. Your returns are upstairs where the thermostat is. So the basement is the coolest part of the house in January and July because it's 8 feet underground, not because you're temperature controlling it on purpose. So we could talk a long time about all of that. We all do it all the time.
All right, thank you. We're going to try and move through some questions here. When venting the heat pump water heater, if an 8-inch duct from the unit connection is used, as mentioned, does the through wall exterior connection also need to be 8 inches, or can it be reduced in diameter?
Rings can be reduced down to 5 inches.
A.O. Smith, we have reducers down to 5 inches.
Mine stays at 8, but I will tell you, I could probably count on my hands how many installations get done with venting. Because you got to remember, if you're thinking, well, I got to move that cool air out of the house, that also means you have to replace it with air from outside. So if you're replacing it with air from outside and you're in Colorado and it's below 40 degrees, guess what? You just shut down the heat pump. The cooling effect is not affecting the performance of the house. Now, if it's in the bedroom, in the closet, now you might have something. You might say, yeah, you're cooling my space because some builder decided for whatever reason to put an electric water heater in a closet here. But for 99.9% of the time, it's never done. So talk to the manufacturer of your choice when you think you have a venting application and see if your assumptions are correct, or if our experience over these last many years doing this says, no, this is not going to be necessary, and let me show you why.
And ducting to another room is good. Ducting to the outside, we don't recommend.
Excellent. Someone comments, not a question, just wants to notice how informative and clear all of the presenters have been, and I agree. Thank you guys very much for that. Someone wants to know, what is the advantage or disadvantage of a 110 versus 240 volt hybrid?
110, yeah, the 110, 120 volt is strictly for gas, emergency replacement, gas to heat pump water heater. From my perspective, A.O. Smith.
Excellent.
Yeah,
the advantage is that you're
a 120 product. So, again, it's, the 120 products are, a feather in your cap. It's not the right application for every installation, but it could suit the needs for a lot of gas to heat pump conversions. Obviously, if they have an electric water heater, they already have a 240 30 amp service there. So you wouldn't necessarily select the 120 products for that. But again, if you're in the right application, that 120 gives you another opportunity to
Yeah, and I'm a manufacturer that doesn't have a 120 volt model. 120 volt models mean you have no reserve, no fast way for recovery. You end up compensating with a larger tank. But a 240 volt model says I perform just like half of the water heaters in this country. No risk. It does exactly the same thing as half of the water heaters in this country. So it's a matter of, is it a limited application? Is it a limited number of people in the house? Is it because there's not enough circuits? Because any of these 240 volt models can be run in heat pump only, 550 watts of power. And you get the benefit of the backup when you might actually need it. Christmas, Thanksgiving, bar mitzvahs, whatever it is you got going on in your house, you might want the faster recovery. Deer season's coming up in Kentucky. I put mine in the hybrid mode from heat pump when that season comes around because I don't want anybody taking a cold shower. Not that they take showers anyway.
All right. Big question. How does this work in northern climates, say up by the Canadian border?
Do they put water heaters in the house up there? That's always
Yes.
the question. The number one state of sales for heat pump water heaters is the state of Maine. And I tease people with that question all the time. Like, I'm a Kentucky boy. We put our water heaters in the house. It doesn't care how cold it is outside. So where the water heater is in the house, if it's in the basement in northern climate, which they typically are, the ground temperature is still pressing in. And yeah, it still works. It's still going to be 70% more efficient than whatever you have in there today. That's the bottom line.
And the side benefit is that it dehumidifies the basement.
Hey, think about it, those colder climates, they have more water heating throughout the year because their incoming water temperature is cold. So your savings are going to be much deeper climate parts of the country. That's why the northern climates have adopted heat pump water heaters at a much faster rate than, say, the south.
It's also a good idea to upsize one level. So if you have a 50-gallon, go 68-gallon heat pump, and then put a mixing valve. Now you have tons of reserve of hot water, and you're probably never going to use the electric elements.
We are 1 minute. We are 1 minute away from 5 o'clock. We did say this was going to be 5 o'clock, but we still have 242 people on the line. I am thrilled by your interest and engagement. Let's do 3 more questions. Mixing valves, do they have problems with mineral contamination?
Yes. Anything hard water touches is going to be affected by calcium and magnesium. Put a water softener in the house. Undersold, underused product that protects all of the plumbing in the home, hands down.
Can the Sanco O2 compressor be installed in a basement?
I guess you guys don't want me to put the answer in for me. But yeah, I mean, depends on the size of the basement. If the basement is bigger than 600 cubic feet, we would allow the unit to slither inside into a basement. However, unlike as we talked about earlier, it will give you 12,000 BTUs of cooling. So every hour, it's like having the window unit that Greg was trying to sell earlier for 2 years. So it's going to make it a little cooler in there than the hybrids will.
Is there any compromise on the energy reading in proportion to humidity levels?
More humidity, the better. It likes a hot, the delta T we're looking for is you want as cold a water as you can to potentially, it works better than it's trying to do the last 2 or 3 degrees to get it up to speed. That's why recirc pumps can cause a problem. They may drop the water temperature 10 degrees, 15 degrees. And it's like in your house when it's 95 degrees outside and you got it set to 68. Yeah, it may not get there. It may be struggling for those last 3 or 4 degrees. And that's the way a heat pump water heater would be affected. But it likes heat and humidity.
Yeah, the humidity holds more energy in the air, so it's going to perform better in warmer, humid climates.
In what situation does it make sense to install a mixing valve?
Mixing valves are for safety. I mean, if you came to my house, my heat pump water heater is set to 135 degrees, and I don't have a mixing valve. I know that when the water gets too hot, I turn it down. But as a plumbing contractor, you can't rely on somebody to say that they've got aged folks in the house. Now, the truth is most showers already have a thermostatically mixing valve and have for a number of years if it's a single lever. But it is just a safety precaution because an installing contractor, if he elevates the temperature of a water heater above the 125 degree mark, he's assuming some responsibility for that. So as manufacturers, we tell the contractor, teach the homeowner how to do this. Take the temperature of the water heater they have today when you replace it. If they've got theirs up to 135 degrees, and they wouldn't know that by looking at the dial, they would only know it if he takes an instant read thermometer and measures the temperature. Then you walk the homeowner over and show him you're at 135, push this button until it hits 135 and hit enter. Now you're comparing apples with apples and the homeowner is taking responsibility for it.
Yeah, they're not going to feel a difference in the hot water delivery when they do that too. So that's a great piece of advice is take that temperature of the settings and just change it to that because most water heaters are set at 20. So if you go in and replace a water heater that was set at 135, 140, replace it with the same capacity at 120, they may run into a cold water situation.
Yeah, never assume that dad didn't mess with it because as soon as they get a cold shower, most people are kind of smart enough to know, go down and turn that gas dial or take the cover off and watching YouTube, take a screwdriver and turn a little knob. Well, on a heat pump water heater, it's right there in front, just like it is on tankless.
What about installation in a mobile home?
That's a tougher one. Depends on how old it is. If it's in the front bedroom and it's a single wide, then the water heater is usually behind the wall in the closet. Done some of those in Kentucky where it doubled the value of the home up in the hills and hollers by putting a heat pump water heater in. And that front room was not lived in. It was a storage room. So literally the low income housing program had to cut the wall out, which was 2x2s. It didn't take much to make that happen, and build a false front with a screen that let it breathe into that room. That was full of stuff. They didn't care. They just wanted the savings, and they wanted to be able to get the water heater in their house through the LIHEAP program.
Next question, and we're actually going to make this our last question because I want you all to be able to go finish your work days. What could be some of the challenges to installing these units for customers in the low-income weatherization program?
A lot of times the biggest challenge is going to be the size. You know, if you're replacing a tall, skinny with the heat pump water heater, you may not have size. And if it's in the middle of an apartment in a closet and there's no drain, you may have to do some additional plumbing to get that condensation drained somewhere else. You can get a condensation pump and pump it somewhere else, but obviously you're going to be making some modifications to the house.
I agree. This is the most frequent limitation, just size. A multi-family dwelling, low boy under air handler, well, cannot do it right now.
Yeah, reach out to a manufacturer if you have any. If it's a low boy, you're done. There's no solution for that unless you're completely modifying the apartment. But if you've got questions about it, bring a manufacturer in, bring a couple of manufacturers in. Let us look over your shoulder, look over your plans, because we've done a bunch of these programs.
Well, thank you guys so much. This has been a wonderful presentation, informative and delightful, well-attended and enthusiastic. I'm so glad that you all showed up. We will do this event again. So if you attendees you may want to attend again yourself. You may want to have a friend or colleague attend. So stay tuned. We will be sending out a follow-up email with recording, contact information for everybody, and slide decks from those who wish to contribute them. This was a very frequent question. I did not ask you all beforehand if you were ready to share your slide decks or not, but those who want to, we will share them. Thank you so much for everybody attending. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.